I am fucking loving my midlife crisis. Absolutely. This is like the best time of my life. Midlife crisis, I mean, I highly recommend it. What's a midlife crisis? Midlife crisis is basically when you get to a certain age, in your 40s or early 50s, where you start freaking out a lot of times. I mean, that's the stereotype, that guys freak out. They freak out and they start doing all kinds of stupid shit. Like they start driving around in convertibles, right? And pretending that they're like 20, dressing up in their idea of what a 20-year-old dresses up like, right? And just doing all kinds of foolishness, right? That's the stereotype of a midlife crisis. But a midlife crisis is actually something important, and you should be paying attention to it and in your own life, no matter how young you might be, and understand what it signifies, what's going on. You see, a midlife crisis is when a man realizes that the years ahead of him are numbered. There aren't that many more years ahead of him. Yeah, I'm 51, and I can reasonably expect that there's going to be like another 20 years of like being effective, of being able to get what I want. Now, 20 years might sound like a lot when you listening to me are, say, 25 or 30 maybe even. But for me, a man of 51, I look back at when I was 31, and that was like fucking yesterday. Yeah, it just went by just like that. Yeah, and so I start getting a little tense, inevitably, because I realize that the time I have left ahead of me is rather short. But what it is that, see, when you realize that the time ahead of you is rather short, you start to evaluate the life that you have right this second. And as you evaluate the life that you have at this moment, as a middle-aged man, two things happen, of course. Either you are satisfied with your life, or you are supremely unsatisfied with where you are in your life. When you're satisfied, you get me. I'm happy as a clam. The money situation is good. The domestic situation is good. Health situation seems to be okay. In general, things are fucking aces. And so I'm having a great time. And you see, I am not particularly concerned or unhappy or resentful or feeling disappointed in myself or anything of the sort. On the contrary, because I feel that all of my life, I've lived the life that I wanted to live. I did the things that I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do them. And now at this, this midlife crisis, if you will, the one thing that I am doing that I had sort of like denied myself in the past is motorcycling. I've gotten a couple of motorcycles and I'm planning on getting more. I want to do more motorcycle touring and shit like that. But of the things that I have not done in my life, that's the only thing I kind of regret. And it's not that big of a deal. It's just fucking motorcycling. You know what I mean? Yeah, but the guys who really freak out when they hit the midlife crisis, or when they have a midlife crisis, are the guys who all through their 20s and 30s and 40s, they denied themselves. They didn't do those things that they wanted to do. They did the things that other people expected them to do, what they thought that they should do but didn't really feel like doing. In other words, when a guy hits 50, hits this midlife crisis, starts freaking out, and starts doing all kinds of foolishness, it's because the man has not been living the life that he wanted to lead. He's been living it for other people. And that causes a huge, not just a crisis, right? But the guy starts trying, at the age of 50, trying to recapture time that is gone forever. And he starts trying to do the things that he should have done when he was in his 20s, when he was in his 30s, and when he was in his 40s. Yeah, he hits 51, my age. And see, all I regret is that I didn't do more motorcycling when I was younger. That's my big regret, and I'm doing it now. Big fucking deal. But there are guys, they hit 51, and they start thinking to themselves, why didn't I chase more girls when I could have? Back when I was 20 and 30 and 40 even. Why didn't I chase more girls? And so I'm going to start chasing them now. Why didn't I buy that convertible that I always wanted and I had the money to buy, but I never did, and so I'm going to buy it now. Why was I so stuffy and stuck up when I was in my 20s, instead of like enjoying life? So I'm going to do it now. You see? You see the tragedy of it? And you understand the lesson to be learned from those guys who are going through a crisis like that? Yeah, because it teaches you or shows you how you should live your life. And the way you should be living your life is no regrets. Doing the things so that in a year's time, 5 years' time, 20 years' time, you're not going to be regretful. You're not going to be saying, oh, I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done that. In my own case, I remember quite clearly, I was living in LA. This was like the late 90s. I was having a shitty time, and I was thinking, I got the money. Why don't I just fucking move to Manhattan, get a loft, and just live it up? And I did it. I went and did it. Yeah. And because of it, I sort of like fucked up my career insofar as being a writer was concerned, because I was too busy partying, right? But I had a swell old time. Yeah. I can't believe I just used the word swell, but okay, what the fuck? I had a swell old time. I had a fucking awesome time. I banged models. I went to parties. I met interesting people. I had a blast. I don't regret it. I'm not now at 51 trying to move to Manhattan and party it up. No, of course not, because I already did that. I did that 20 years ago. I did that when I was 31. I had a great time, and now the idea of like partying and doing all kinds of foolishness like that, it's just like, fuck that. I want to go to bed at a reasonable hour. You see my point? See? You should be living your life so that you have no regrets, so that you don't have a midlife crisis. It's really, really tempting to play it smart when you're young, because you see a lot of other guys who do stupid shit. They do stupid shit, and so you say to yourself, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to play it smart. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to limit myself and not do whatever the fuck I feel like doing, but just be smart, do this shitty ass job that I don't like because it'll get me money, it'll get me career prospects. Now you see, all of that is good and fine, and you should be doing that to an extent. To an extent. But see, don't make it so it warps who you are. There's nothing wrong when you're in your 20s and 30s of playing it smart, playing it a little bit safe, trying to reach for the brass ring. It's perfectly fine. But don't do it so that you become somebody that later will be filled with regret and will have a crisis at age 50 and try to be a man that he could have been in the past but wasn't, even though he wanted to be. You see what I'm trying to say? There's nothing worse than regrets. There's nothing worse than wishing you had done something and not having done it at the time. And then later realizing that you could have done it, and you would have succeeded. See? There's nothing more tragic. And you see it all the times. You see it with these guys, these like, have you ever met these really funny guys? These really funny guys who have like this dark sense of humor, right? And, they laugh at everything. They laugh at other people. They are just these great comedians, right? But you sort of like dig a little bit into them, and you start to realize that all of their lives have been filled with fear, and they never did any of the things that they wanted to do. And you've met those guys, right? I've met plenty of those guys. Plenty of guys like that who could have been great, but they just didn't do it. And then later they're regretful. And that regret expresses itself in this cynical amusement, laughing at everything. But more than anything else, what's going on is that they are regretful of the lives that they have been living, or more to the point, regretful of the lives that they didn't lead. Life is really short. It is unbelievably short. I've told you before, the days are long, but the decades are short. 10 years gets behind you like nothing, okay? I mean, I'm here to tell you, man. I mean, I know this shit because I'm an old guy. And I'm telling you, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, it goes by like that. And it's gone, and it's never coming back. And so, whenever you have the opportunity to do something that you really want, do it. Now, I'm not talking about like, when you really want to have a drink or you really want to do a line of Coke or some shit like that. No, I'm talking about something that's productive, when you really want to do something productive, when you really see a beautiful woman and you want to go up and talk to her, when you see a business opportunity that you really want to participate in, when you see the chance of moving to a new city and starting over, starting a new life, or moving to a different country to experience a different reality. I'm telling you, man, take those chances. Take those chances and don't become this old fart of 51 who's having a complete fucking meltdown, a complete breakdown, is acting like a fucking retard because of regret. You have no idea how thankful I am. Because my midlife crisis that I'm enjoying so thoroughly, right? Yeah, there are a few things I'm doing that I didn't do when I was younger, that I should have done. The motorcycling is one thing, and a few other things, but they're all trivial. They're all trivial. All the important things, I did them. And I don't regret them. No, on the contrary. And sometimes I succeeded and sometimes I failed. But see, whether I succeeded or not doesn't really matter because, see, I know what happened when I took those chances and I did those things. Sometimes they worked out and sometimes they didn't. I gave it my best shot in the different things, and sometimes the success came my way and sometimes it was just failure, but I know there's no regret. There's no wondering, oh, what if? There's none of that. And that's how you should live.